Okay guys, I'm just going to finish off my day with one more video. I'm just going to talk about this area here. So you've got the chevrons inside there, but the outer border is a solid line, okay? Now you can get areas with diagonal stripes, which are also with a solid border like this, but you can also get it with a sort of dotted border. So it's a broken line as well. So as you can see, that's a broken line there, and that's a solid border. So if the area here around the chevrons is with an area of a solid border, then you must not enter, and that is a must not with red writing in the highway code. You must not enter it unless it's an emergency. So it's absolutely forbidden and against the law to go over this line, okay, unless it is a complete emergency. So yeah, you get in trouble for that. That is proper lawful stuff, all right? And that's the same for if it's got a diagonal white line in it as well, like in the town centres and stuff like that, all right? So can't cross a solid border unless it's a emergency. If it's covered in a dotted border, you shouldn't enter the dotted border as a standard, but you only do it if necessary, all right? And if it's safe to do so. So you can see in here, this picture here, this has got a dotted surrounding to this because it's trying to open up the road for the island there. It is, I mean, why would you need to go in there anyway? You know what I mean? It's like you can enter it if necessary, but why would you need to? They've used that to open the road for that little island there. So, there's no point in going in there. So you shouldn't go into it unless you absolutely have to. But for what reason? I suppose if you lived in a house like over here, perhaps, that you can't see, as in before the traffic light, I guess. I can't see, what's on the right there, but perhaps that would be the only reason there. Same with this picture. You can see it was one line there, and then it's opened up there to eventually make room for the island in the road for the pedestrian to cross. Again, it's unlikely that you're going to need to use that area. I guess if you're coming down here and you live in this house here and you wanted to turn in, I suppose if it was absolutely necessary to keep traffic behind you moving to go completely straight on, then you could use it to turn into the house perhaps. But as you can see, it's, opening up there for the island in the road, So if it's really busy, then perhaps you could go on it there to turn into your own house, because that would be necessary and safe to do so, perhaps if it's really busy. I just want to take this opportunity to zoom into this section of hatch markings, because this section of hatch markings is really thick, and this thickness of hatch markings can spread down a road for a really long time. So they can just have that in the centre of the road for ages. And this is particularly useful if the speed limit is slightly higher, or they're trying to separate the traffic nicely from each other, because it keeps both lanes really safe, right, on the left and the right. So if that's the situation and you're on a road like that, they're protecting both sides beautifully. If it's covered in a dotted border like this, you still can use it to overtake, but you need to be very careful, because you can use it to overtake, but also so can the people that are coming towards you. So you would need to be extremely careful about deciding whether to overtake when you're coming down a road like that, because the people oncoming may be in the centre of the road, which is where you want to be as well. Also take extra caution if you're overtaking and there's any type of right turnabout or T-junction on the right. That could be particularly dangerous if you're not observing correctly. So be very, very careful when you choose to overtake in any situation, especially if there's hatch markings. Here's another example of it absolutely being forbidden. So as you can see, the white learner is on the left, but anyone in the lane with the black car would be forbidden to go over to the left, and the learner couldn't go to the right. It's absolutely forbidden because you've got the solid line there. So that's forbidden unless it's an emergency situation. I tried to find a picture in a book, but I've just drawn it, so apologies for the state of the picture. But this is a time when it can be useful to have the dotted border. So you might be driving down the road and you want to turn right. So if this is you here turning right, and you've got a section of hatch markings there in a dotted border, it depends on how busy it is. So if I'm teaching my student to turn right here and it's not busy with other people turning right, then I would suggest that my student signals before the hatch markings start opening up the road, because the person's going to go into this little waiting area and stop here to give way to oncoming people. So when it is not busy and there's only you coming down, no one is in here already trying to turn right. Okay, if it's just you on your own, you do mirror and signal before the hatch markings open, and that will hopefully prevent people from having the idea of overtaking you when you're coming up to a junction, right? So you put your signal on before the hatch markings come up, and you don't go in the hatch markings. There's no need to. So you just like mirrors, knowing if it's safe, your signal's on, and then you go past the hatch markings, and then you casually go into it there, and then you put yourself in there as a waiting car there, right? Because there's no need to go over the hatch markings. It's not necessary. So there you are in there, in the opening, yeah, because it's clear there, there's no hatch markings there. So you've gone mirror signal, not going on it until you're allowed to go in there, and then you pause to give way to oncoming people who are going left and straight. However, if it's rush hour, that's a bit different. So let's say this is you, and you can already see that there's actually a queue of people in here turning right. It would be useful for you to use the hatch markings now, because otherwise if you stop here to turn right, that's going to make a traffic jam behind you and it's going to upset everyone. So when this situation happens with a student, I almost liken this to an overflow car park. So there's people in the car park already, and you need to use the overflow car park. So you'd be here, so you can keep out of the way of the people who want to go straight on. So in this circumstance, if there's people waiting and there's, it's really busy because people are just rush houring and they're coming down here and they can't go, then you could go mirror signal, checking your mirrors carefully, and then you could go in when the hatch markings develop, and then you could wait here on the overflow, what I call it. So it's just like an overflow car park. You wouldn't go and park in the overflow car park if the main car park is empty, right? It's just no point, is there? So you go mirror signal and you only go on the hatch markings on the dotted border if there's people already waiting, because this position on the hatch markings, if it's busy, allows the people behind to continue on with their journey to get home, and they'll appreciate that because it's probably rush hour. If it's that busy, it's probably rush hour anyway, so these people behind would appreciate that to go straight on. That would not be allowed if it was a solid border. Okay, it wouldn't be allowed. But the situation in a town very likely would have a dotted border on situations like this for that. There may or may not be islands, like proper islands here. All right, maybe. There might be islands. Maybe, maybe not. Depends on the situation. All right. So yeah, anyway, I hope that helps and my drawing is clear enough for you.